Treasure Island. So Treasure Island is a pirate, if you can't guess by the title, a pirate search and find game. So essentially,
well, you don't search and find for pirates. You search and find for treasure. The pirates are searching and hopefully finding.
So, um, so that's essentially the theme of the game. So going into quality of pieces, there's a lot going on as far as player pieces. You have these really nice plastic utensil or tools that you use to mark the board for different clues or searches, as well as the measuring, because that's how you get around. Is you actually have to measure. Then, as well as that, you actually have pretty decent markers, as well as wooden tokens for your player token that gets moved on the truck over there for the length of the game. You got a lot of cardboard. So these actually aren't cards; they're cardboard tiles.
Very chintzy cardboard. It's the kind you get in a typical Kickstarter from a small-time company. They peel right on the punch board. It was very disappointing.
Yeah. And then, so you also get a little chest that you put together. Again, the quality of the cardboard's not top notch, but the fact is you do get a punch out piece. I think the player screens are pretty good. So there's a lot of components to this. I like the fact that it's whiteboard. I think that is actually really cool that you actually get to mark the board as you go around notating what has been searched, what hasn't been searched, which clues you're going to give in, even though some of the clues are misleading depending on how Long John hides his treasure.
Which apparently, me as a pirate, I don't do a very good job because I just left my treasure just setting out where everybody can see it with like arrows pointing to it.
Pretty much. So what would you give it as a score?
I really hated those cardboard tokens. This is one of my big beefs about games, and I know that if a lot of starting up companies, whether this one is or not, I have no idea, but a lot of startup companies try to save on the printing and they try to get as cheap as possible, and that's what this feels like. I was very disappointed in the cardboard. The plastic pieces are really nice, and the miniatures are really nice, and they actually match the characters, which is pretty cool. The whiteboard, the board itself is okay, although it was bowed really bad. And we had to push and push and push to try to get it to be somewhat flat on the table.
This thing sucked.
Yeah, there's the sextant or whatever this is, compass, whatever you want to call it. It would not stay together. So when you're trying to draw your circle, it was awful.
They could have done something more with this.
Yeah, that hinge is not good at all. You can just swing it, make a clock out of it, maybe. As far as, I mean, it was neat that they tried, because that's probably the most expensive component in the game is that wooden thing, but it's not very good. These these cardboard cards should have been cards. There's no reason these are not cards.
Well, no, I'm fine with them being cardboard tiles. I mean, I think that's fine. I think it's just a personal preference. So what would you give it a score-wise?
I can't give it more than a 6. Probably I would have gone a 5 if it weren't for the miniatures and the plastic components being as nice as they are. Even though I really don't like measuring in games, but
that has nothing to do with quality.
I know quality of pieces. I'll go ahead and give this one a 6.
I'm actually going to give this a 7. I think I love the fact that there's a whiteboard element to this. I loved the player screens. There's a lot of different pieces going into this game. I think they thought of everything when they were like, okay, what do we need? I don't think there was anything missing when you go to play it, or I wish I had, you had it. So for that, I'm going to give them a 7 because the thought was there, even though maybe not necessarily the quality of cardboard. So let's move on to theme. So theme is really where this game shines. So I enjoy the pirate theme. The game is about searching and finding treasure. So it's very spot on. The art is, I think, perfect for what this game is. The player screens, the pictures on them, again, the art's fantastic. So theme-wise, they spot on for theme. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I love pirate games in general, and I like mysteries and kind of games similar to Clue type games, and this kind of brought both of those into a really nice thematic package, and it incorporates all of the actions in the game and all of the the different various things that the Long John can do and the pirates can do made sense from a thematic perspective. And the art on the board for the map is really pretty. Yeah, having Johnny Cash as Long John Silver was really cool. Looks like Johnny Cash to me anyway. But yeah, I think it's probably a solid 8 as far as theme.
I'm going to give it a 9 because I don't see what more they could have done to really incorporate you into this pirate realm. I mean, you're literally facing other pirates to find the treasure. And one of your number is actually in jail, so that all of that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Now, I would say it's neat that they made that concept of putting the player who is kind of the master, the DM, if you will, for the game, as a player that can actually still get out and play on the board at some point in the game, not till the very end, but at least he's got, the potential to get out and actually affect the gameplay too.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff that they do throughout the game, so it wasn't completely non-enjoyable for that person. All right, so moving on to rules. What did you think of the rules?
Hit or miss. I mean, the setup portion was annoying because there were pieces that were referenced in the setup that were not in the game contents or not specified. And they would they had a picture of the play area and they put numbers on it, but it was just kind of a general vicinity of things. So it would reference tokens that don't exist in the contents list. So basically I had to go through a process of elimination of saying, no, it's not this, and no, it's not that, to get to what those tokens were they were referring to, which was frustrating. And then the playing thing was it's a pretty simplistic game as far as your actions and such, and the player boards help with the cheat sheets on them.
Yeah, I think as far as the cheat sheet goes with being behind the player screens, top notch, perfect. I love being able to sit at the table, look at this player screen, and I could play the game. Not necessarily. I don't think you could do that as like Long John Silver, but as far as being a player trying to find your treasure.
Oh, yeah, Long John's got similar. I mean,
that's good.
Yeah, it's still got it.
So I didn't see that player board. So really, fantastic.
They did a great job.
As far as that, spot on. Couldn't ask for anything better as far as cheat sheets go. So give it a score.
I was thinking 7 originally, but now looking at the player boards, I think I will go with like an 8 probably for this one, because even though there's some issues with the setup on it, I think that the cheat sheets on the player boards are nice enough to pull it up another point.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I love being able to sit down in a game, have my cheat sheet, and be able to play minimal, being able to just run through it, and if you cross a problem, go into the rules at that point. All right, so moving on to gameplay. So gameplay is actually pretty straightforward. So basically you have a timer on this particular board. Each player moves one day, and they get so many actions during that day. And so there are 3 different options that you can do for each action that you have. One is moving up to 6 miles. You do have to measure where you're going. That is something I found a little bit annoying, but also if you had X's that you can move, you would almost lose kind of some of that theme. So I understand why they made that choice, but as far as user friendliness, I almost wish they had one board that would let you measure, and then the other side of the board would have been the
other side. You have to flip the board during the game.
No, you get to choose how you play. Either play with the cubes or measure out.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of games where you have to measure to begin with. That's why I don't play miniatures games. So I was a little disappointed when that's the approach that this one took. But I understand why they did it with this, and at least it's contained. It's not like you have an empty table that you measure and... Yeah.
So I think I understand why they did that. I almost wish they would have had an option flipping the board and having it in X's, and that way you could just do the X's. Then, so you can move up to 6 miles, again, you measure, or you can move up to 3 miles and do a small search. These small searches are small. I mean, by the time you put it around your little piece, you've got to be in the center. You're basically covering just where you're at. So, and then, but if you do a search, you're giving the Long John Silver the opportunity to throw off a clue, which makes him more powerful. So you almost don't want to waste it on these small searches, because the more clues he can give off, the higher, or the more things he can mess you up later on.
Yeah, although I'll say that none of the clues, I mean, even the chest cards, which are the more powerful ones, aren't that great. I mean, they're slightly more vague than the other clues. They weren't, it wasn't enough that I think it made it worth, the effort of trying to avoid giving clues. I certainly would not have gone the strategy you guys were doing, but yet it worked. You guys won, so.
Yeah. And then the last and final action that you can take is doing a large search. So you place it around, and then you go inside of the circle. Now, there are special abilities that each player has. For example, my player, you could go on the outside ring. So there are different special abilities, and we really won't go into those special abilities. The other thing that they have is your player card. Your player card right here has different special abilities that you can use. Some are throughout the whole game, like mine was, or some are one-time only. So like this card, they only have one-time onlys. You mark it off when you use that ability. It is an action that you can do, but it's not your typical 3, so you'll have to mark those off. Now, as far as Long John Silver, if you want to explain that gameplay real quick.
Sure. So Long John Silver, first of all, they're the one that chooses where the treasure's going to be buried right off. And then each player turn, you're going to play based upon what the calendar tells you to do. So the calendar, some days of the calendar will have where you have to reveal hints. And during the game, you're going to get 7 hints that you have to reveal to the pirates. Some of those you can generally you have to tell the truth. You can put markers down that have check marks on them, and that indicates they're true. But you put them face down so the players don't know whether you're playing a truth or a lie. There's 2 during the game, the course of the game that you get, that you can bluff or lie, but you don't have to. So you could play a true one and then put a lie token down. One of the actions that is on the player boards is they get 2 times during the game they can check your tokens to see whether you're telling the truth or lying. So if you played a lie token and were telling the truth, it might throw them off into thinking you were lying. So it's basically just a possible lie. It's not really a guaranteed lie. And then whenever the searches are done, the Long John Silver checks to see if it's in the area where the treasure is. If it's not in the area the treasure is, either says that it's not in the area, or he takes his treasure chest and puts one of his bonus tokens in, like this one, and gives it to the player. It gives that player either a piece of information or an extra ability that they can use, but it also gives the Long John Silver player the ability to play cards that he's going to get during the course of the game with treasure chests on them, and they're supposed to be more beneficial to Long John Silver, but they're still giving clues out to your opponent. So it's not great. I mean, they're more, I guess, slightly more vague than the other ones were, but they still eliminated quite a bit of real estate on the map. So I find that this game is going to be very difficult to win as Long John Silver, playing through 17 rounds where each player gets most of the time 2 actions during their turn.
Yeah. I will say that I think if there were more players, I think you would have been better off, because people are going to... So, with only 2 players, you got to control 2 pirates. So, even though if I was playing orange and I was trying to get up here, I mean, I would have had to travel quite a bit of difference.
Mm-hmm.
But because I had 2 characters on the opposite sides of the board, it was super easy to be like, well, I'll check here. Okay, well, I'm actually going to check over here now.
Yeah.
So, I think in that instance, it kind of hurt being Long John Silver. I do think this game would be better with a lot more people, with the 4
I think so.
players.
I definitely want to try it again with a full complement of players, or at least 3 pirates.
Because then each person's getting a little less actions, even though, you're getting 2 and there's the same amount, but because people are thinking different things and they may be looking at different areas.
Right, and they're not co-oping. So in the case where you got 2 players you're controlling, you're co-oping between those 2. In the case of 4 players, it's every man for themselves, because you only have 1 winner among the pirates. They're not on the same team.
Yeah, so I think having this for a small group, I would not play this again in a small group.
No.
But I definitely want to play it again in a longer group. This definitely scratches an itch if you're looking for that kind of hunt down kind of thing. I actually really enjoyed it. I was really bummed that Andrew didn't enjoy it as much. I didn't feel like, but I actually did. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, I've seen games like this implemented better. I mean, Letters from Whitechapel's similar in this kind of area.
that one's harder. I can't win against you.
I love Letters of Whitechapel. You know, that game, Scotland Yard. You've got, you know, there's a whole bunch of games that do that kind of. Even Nuns on the Run, really.
I haven't played that one.
It's the same kind of concept where, you know, you're trying to find, you know, either in those cases you're trying to find the player, but in this you're trying to find the treasure for the player before he gets out of prison and can find it himself. So it's a little bit different, but pretty much the same kind of concept. Also, I think there's Fury of Dracula is another one that's like that. But you know, it's those kind of games always appeal to me because, you know, they're mystery type suspense or trying to find things. This one, it's the same vein, plus it's pirates. So I like that concept. Was bummed when I found out it was measuring. So there's things about it I really like, things about it I didn't. Certainly the components I didn't. As far as the play, I definitely would not try this, as you said, with 2 or 3 players again. I was very disappointed in the playthrough 2 to 3. I think its sweet spot is at least 4 player, if not 5, where you have 3 or 4 pirates along with.
Yeah, I think that will dramatically change how you played this, and I think it would work better for Long John Silver. Right now, I do think at the player ratio, it's would be kind of dooming as far as playing Long John Silver. I don't think I'd enjoy that one, so I can't imagine you did with it.
No, and I will say that it could actually end on the first turn, which is, you know, I know it's a possibility that any of these games could have if you really played poorly, but this one, the board is pretty small. There's, you know, a lot of real estate that you can cover with those searches. If you put your treasure in the wrong spot, you could lose the game on turn 1.
Well, then you better
this game setup is really.
Well, you better not put it in the wrong spot then.
It takes. It's not a huge setup time, but it still takes some preparation.
At that point, you'd be just like, all right, someone else pick a new spot. Someone else be Long John
Yeah,
Silver.
exactly. It would be very disappointing to play 1 turn and have the game over. I mean, it was bad enough we lost in 7 turns or something like that.
I didn't lose.
I lost. It's 7 turns. Yes.
Give it a score.
I'm going to give this one probably, at this point with the player count we had, a 6. It's probably going to go up to a 7 when we play with more players, but I'm going to give it a 6 for now.
I think I enjoyed it more than either you or Andrew did. And I can see what you're saying. And I think I am almost hopeful that it's better with more players. And I think that's part of that hope. I'm going to give it a 7 with a possible 8 depending on player count and seeing if that makes it any better or not.
Yeah.
But right now, I agree. I would say a 7 right now based on the information that I was given. But I really do think that if you had the higher player count, I think it would pull it up. So whether it be a full 8 or 7.5, I don't know.
Yeah, I will say that, you know, some of the tools like this one in particular made it more problematic too. And I think that, you know, if these tools worked a little better, it might have helped too.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the only tool we had an issue with, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was definitely our primary one. But yeah, I think that, I think we could have done a lot better without that tool. Just drawing a freehand circle, I think would have been better.
Well, you could almost just measure and do
just to do a few points and then just connect them. Yeah, I think we was better, but it would take a little longer. I think that, you know, with another game player too, it might come up 1 point, but I don't see it going up above 7 for me.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. We had at least I had fun.
It was fun. It was. I mean, I love pirate games. I'm the one that got it out, so it wasn't. It's not a horrible game by any means. It's just it wasn't what I was expecting when I got it out fully, and it was the quality of pieces really affected it for me. But I think that, you know, I still think it can be a very enjoyable game. I think that we shouldn't have tried it with 2 to 3 players.
Yeah, I agree with that one. You do need, I think, seriously do need a higher player count. But again, I still had fun tonight. So thank you guys so much for joining us. If you would like to hang out with us again, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the notification bell. Don't forget to check out our website and all the other things that we're on. We appreciate hanging out with you guys.
Bye.
Bye.